Hello and welcome to Total Mind Fitness, the well-being workout that is within your reach. It really is. It's within your reach. If you've been following this series, building skills, practicing skills together, and building a community so that we can work together, developing ourselves together, going through life together. And there's nothing better than building community. There's nothing better than having relationships with other people. I mean, how can we enhance our interpersonal relationships, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, you name it? How can we enhance that? Well, what we will need is the interpersonal relationship enhancer coming up. Well, what we're doing is we are working on the Trauma to Triumph system, and we are going through the Triumph system T to H, and we've covered T, which is transforming our behavior and our habits. We went through the whole series of that. You can check that out in past videos, and we went into the whole habits part of the course. Then we went into the resilience building part of the course, where we really, went into all the different skills and practices that we can do to bring out the resilience within us. And now we're going on to the I of the Triumph system, T-R-I, and I is for the interpersonal relationship enhancer. And, going through this system from trauma to triumph, it's accumulative. I've built it in this way that as we build these skills together, we are choosing our behavior. We're bringing the freedom of choice back to ourselves and not being hijacked by our emotions, hijacked by our thoughts, hijacked by our body sensations and pain and circumstances, whether inside or outside of our bodies. We're taking back the freedom of choice. Now, the freedom of choice during traumatic situations and sometimes afterwards for a period of time can be taken from us, and we become slaves to our thoughts, slaves to our emotions, slaves to our body sensations, and we go on to our emotional roller coaster. And the more we're on this roller coaster going, looping the loops and turning corners and not knowing what's going on and what's coming up, and we have this feeling of loss of control of our lives, we begin to become overwhelmed, and chaos leads to chaos, chaos leads to chaos, and we lose hope. We begin to have a sense of hopelessness, and we don't know how we're going to continue. And it just goes down a slippery slope like that. But if we can work and build skills and practice a philosophy, practice a lifestyle, practice a way of living that can build up our inner resources to take us out of that into triumph, well, that is what we're trying to do. And we want to develop a behavior that will increase our chance of living a higher quality life. And it's very much possible. I've been through a number of experiences, and I didn't know this stuff. And we're not born knowing this stuff. We're born and we get to where we are today through our histories and our learning experiences and who we met on the way and who took care of us on the way and so on. So we're not born with this information. And I was privileged enough and lucky enough to have good teachers and good mentors and people that took an interest in me and people that took care of me and taught me and had patience with me and went over and over again and helped me practice and continue to do that for me. And what I want to do is to be able to pass on my experience, pass on my knowledge and the wisdom that I have developed from that, and pass that on to you on how to have behaviors, how to behave in a way that will increase our chances of living a higher quality life. Nobody in this world is guaranteed anything. All right. And there's no better time to know that than the pandemic of 2020. Nobody is guaranteed anything, not guaranteed, economical success. No one's guaranteed good health. No one's guaranteed happiness or satisfaction or joy or, friends, family. Nobody's guaranteed anything. We need to take responsibility for our behavior. We need to take responsibility for prevention of disease, prevention of mental disorder, prevention of hardship. We have a place where we can put in effort to guide ourselves in the best possible way, to give ourselves the best possible chance. That's what it's about. There's a certain amount of our life, probably most of it, that is not in our control. But the bit that is in our control is responding to our circumstances, within our bodies. So that means responding to the circumstances of our thoughts in a particular way that will increase the chance of our having a better quality life, responding to the circumstances of our emotions in a way that will increase our chance of living a higher quality life, responding to the circumstances of our body sensations, uncomfortable or otherwise, that will give us a better chance of living a higher quality life, responding to the circumstances of our environment, whether that's the circumstances that we find ourselves in and the type of family that we're in. We have the ability to put effort in and increase the chance of living a higher quality life. The type of upbringing we had, the neighborhood we had, our economical situation, all of that, a lot of the time is out with our own control. But we do have a responsibility and we do have an ability to respond to that in a way that's optimum for us. Not comparing us to anybody else, but it's optimum for us in order to increase the chances of ourselves living a higher quality life. What I mean by a higher quality life, I mean a quality of life that has meaning and purpose to it. That we wake up in the morning and we say, thank God I'm still alive because I can continue to live this life with meaning and purpose under the circumstances that I'm in. Okay, so if we're wanting to better our circumstances, we must acknowledge the circumstances that we're in first. And when we acknowledge the circumstances that we're in first, and we are able to function in the best way possible under these circumstances, now we have a chance to move forward. If we're going to be saying to ourselves all the time, when my circumstances change, that's when I will make a change, then the chances are your circumstances will not change and you will never change. And so whatever you've done up to now, you'll continue to do, and whatever you've got up to now, you will continue to get. But if we look at this in a different way and we say, look, okay, the circumstances might not be able to change, but I can acknowledge that and continue to make choices in the way that I behave under these circumstances according to what gives me meaning and purpose. And then what we do is we get rid of the hopelessness and we exchange it with hope. We now have a direction in which to go in. we now have an ability to set ourselves goals according to a direction that we want to go, which has meaning and purpose. Everything will start to fall into place and give ourselves a certain amount of direction, hope, motivation, energy, and most importantly, that freedom of choice to start living in a way that is higher quality for me. And if I have a higher quality of life myself, there's a good chance that I'm going to influence those around me to also have that choice of living a higher quality life, because they will see me as a model of living under the same circumstances, but living in a way that gives me freedom of choice. And you will have more energy and more motivation to help others. And when others start to live a higher quality life, they will influence their circles and it will grow exponentially. And we will be able to build a nurturing community, a nurturing family, a nurturing society, and a nurturing world. And that is the direction that will give me meaning and purpose. And that's why I want to be able to teach you these skills. And one of the important things about that is enhancing our personal, interpersonal relationships. Now, that might mean between me and my intimate partner, my intimate spouse, but it might also be my interpersonal relationship with me and my loved ones, my family, me and my interpersonal relationships with my friends and acquaintances, me and my interpersonal relationships with my neighborhood, my community, me and my interpersonal relationships with my colleagues at work, or the wider circle of colleagues in my industry, me and my interpersonal relationships between me and my employer, my boss, my manager, or if I am a boss, employer, manager, between me and my employees. Okay, between myself and just other people in the world, in the city that I live in. We need to develop our interpersonal relationships if we want to have a chance at living a higher quality life. And I base my teachings on my teacher. My teacher in this particular part of the T.R.I.U.M.P.H program was Mavis Tsai, still is, in her program of awareness, courage, and love. And that is the basis for the interpersonal relationship enhancer in the T.R.I.U.M.P.H program. And we're going to go through a number of these things today regarding awareness. And what we want to do is develop awareness of myself and my others. If we want to enhance our interpersonal relationship, we need to develop self-awareness and awareness of others. So self-awareness can be whatever feelings I am having, I observe them, I notice them, and I don't judge my feelings to be good or bad. Okay, so just let's do that now. Just practice that self-awareness. What's showing up in my feelings right now? What kind of emotional state am I in right now? And I do this as I wake up in the morning. Sometimes I don't have to even consciously make a decision to do this. I just get notified right away by my body and I take note of it. And as I wake up in the morning and have gratitude that I'm still here and I can still change my behavior and that I can still help the world and contribute, I take note of the feelings I'm having, but I don't judge them to be good or bad, even though let's say, not half, sometimes even more than half, they are uncomfortable feelings. I don't want to give them a name, but you might know what I mean. So just notice that now. And then what I want to do is I want to be curious what's actually happening inside me, in my body. What sensations maybe I'm feeling. What's in my heart? What's my intentions for the day? Just take that breath and agree with what is there. It's in ours. It's in our own bodies. It's in our own heart. Just be with it. That sense of self-compassion. That sense of noticing what's in my body and my heart. And that curiosity is, it might be there every day since you were 8 years old, but a lot of the time we try to ignore it, or we try to fight it, or we try to run away from it. We don't like it. What I'm trying to do now is to be curious about it and say, you know what? I'm going to give you the time of day. I'm going to actually observe it and be curious about it and befriend it even, and just be with it and say, okay, body, okay, heart, what are you trying to tell me? I'm here. I'm with me right now. And what I want to do with that is I want to make an effort to be self-compassionate. And I want to understand that my own history, since the day I was born, and possibly even before that, in my mother's womb, which is also part of my history, and the learning that I've done since I was born, whether it's learning by just being here, my experience, what I was taught by my parents, what I was taught by my teachers at school and in the street by my friends, or more formal learning, whatever has happened to me since the day I was born has shaped the way I react now. And sometimes I react, not in my best interests. Anyone recognize that? You're welcome to put in the comments or write to me right now if you recognize any of this stuff. But a lot of the time when I react, when I respond to things that happen in my own life, it's not always in my best interests. It's sometimes just my first reaction that I sometimes or most times regret. But I want to develop my self-compassion to understand that, how I have learned up until now has actually shaped the way I react. And if I learn new things now, then it will shape the way I react going forward. And that gives me a lot of hope because, I can start to learn how to respond in my best interests, in my long-term best interests, in the interest of giving me a chance of a higher quality life. And that pleases me because if I have a higher quality life, I will be able to influence the surroundings and maybe influence them also to have a higher quality life. So we've got someone coming in saying now, oh yes, don't have your names. So stick your names when you put your comments in and I'll be able to see who's talking. And we've got, it feels bad afterwards. Yeah, that's, I also, when I respond in that kind of, respond from the hip kind of way, then it's not always in my best interest and I do feel worse afterwards. But I need to have self-compassion that I learned how to do that. Okay? That's what I need to know. And Yeah, just like our other Facebook user is saying, change is possible. I can respond instead of react. Absolutely. I can respond in a different way. I can respond in a way, I can learn to respond in a way that is much more beneficial, will give me much better chance of living a higher quality life. So I want to learn how to do that. Okay, and one of the ways we can learn how to do that is by, first of all, being curious what's happening inside me and develop that awareness that it is happening inside me. And we want to also develop the awareness that is happening inside the other person, whether that person is our partner, our spouse, a family member, a friend, a neighbor, a colleague, a fellow world traveler. They also have that. And so I want to develop an awareness that that is in them too. And I don't want to judge how they feel to be good or bad either. And I want to be able to make an effort to be compassionate to others and understand that their history and their previous learning has shaped the way that they react. So sometimes when somebody reacts and I judge it to be quite harsh and I get insulted and, I get hurt, I also want us to develop a compassion for these people that, the way that they're acting towards me and towards others is also shaped in the way that their previous learning and their life history has taken them. It doesn't mean we agree with them. It doesn't mean we need to hug and kiss them. It doesn't mean anything like that. It means we develop within ourselves an understanding that their previous learning and history has shaped the way that they react. We're only at the beginning of this interpersonal journey, but we need to understand that we need to develop these skills within ourselves. So, Joe from Kijong, fantastic, wonderful. Yeah, that's another beautiful system that we will get to when we talk about all our body movements. What a beautiful way to become mindful. And someone else is saying, the family system has taught me those ways. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nothing here is new. All we're doing is making it accessible, and we are practicing it. That is the secret here. So we want to develop things in ourselves, and we want to develop outwardly. So in ourselves, we want to develop awareness. We want to be curious what's going on in ourselves, and we want to understand that our responses, our reactions, are influenced by how we have lived on this planet up until this day. We've practiced that way for many years. And outwardly, we want to understand that we want to be aware of others. We want to be aware of what's in other people's hearts and how they feel. We want to be curious about how they feel. And we also want to understand that others have a personal history and a previous learning as well, and that shapes the way they react. And that is the beginning of building awareness in our interpersonal relationships. And we will go on this week to discuss courage and to discuss love and how we can develop these parts of our interpersonal relationship that will enhance it. So if you get any questions or you want to put it in the comments, how this has been, how this is helping you. Any questions you've got about going forward, about how you can apply this, about your situation, you are welcome always to write to me, to put it in the comments, or write to me a personal message, or whatever way you want to contact me. I'm here for you. This is about building community. This is about helping each other, nurturing each other, to give all of us a better chance of having a higher quality life.